黄水晶手串
Crystal bracelet.
水晶
Crystal is one of the 7 treasures of Buddhism. Dubbed the gemstone of wealth, it attracts wealth, popularity, and luck. It is especially suitable for business people. It also helps to relieve stress and improve digestive health. Grandmaster JinBodhi named this bracelet Wealth Collecting, Fortune Attracting, Safety Assuring Yellow Crystal Bracelet. The blessing endows it with energy that eliminates disasters and calamities and brings about good fortune and safety. Wearers of these bracelets will be blessed with safe and smooth passage and the ability to turn distress into auspiciousness. Moonlight Bodhisattva Gemstone Mala Necklace. The Moonlight Bodhisattva is known as the Bodhisattva who shines moonlight upon all. The Turkish blue Chalcedony is a rare gemstone. The subtle touch of blue not only exudes peacefulness and elegant beauty, but also improves and prevents eye issues. Grandmaster JinBodhi named this stone Moonlight Bodhisattva Gemstone and imbued the mala with powerful blessings. Wearing this mala over the long term calms the mind and wards off negative energies. It also promotes a peaceful body and mind, strengthens communication skills, and significantly improves interpersonal relationships. Eastern Blue Gemstone Bracelet. The Eastern Blue Gemstone is the gemstone of confidence, imbued with positivity and luck. It is a symbol of the Eastern Paradise realm. Wearing it facilitates communication with Medicine Buddha. It can quickly banish negative energy, tap into compassion and auspiciousness, transform one's luck, and bring about purity and ease of body, mind, and spirit. Hello, our online friends. Hello, everyone. Today is part 17 of our group chanting practice. I try to save some time for you all. I don't want to waste your time, and so I don't want to talk too much. And so I'll try to go directly to the topic. So first I'll tell a story. And this is a story about Li DeSi. Li DeSi is a person's name. And this story happens at the end of Ming Dynasty. So it's about 300 years ago. And the location that the story happened is about the, subsidy of the Beijing, of the capital city, and the city is called Wafangdian. And so there's a very wealthy person in that town. People call him like Sir Qian. And about 1 kilometer away, there's a peasant, and his name is Li, and Li DeSi. He's very handy, and he can help to repair the houses. And so this Sir Qian would ask him to go and help to repair the house. And so he frequently goes to Sir Qian's house to do some work. And this Sir Qian is pretty generous and usually would pay him pretty generously. And so he went frequently to go and help him to repair the houses, and therefore they get quite familiar with each other. And so so they address each other very, very closely. They are calling each other brothers. And so the Sir Qian would call Li DeSi like younger brother Li. And one year, this Sir Qian need to go to the south to do something. And usually, because in the past, in the old times, they don't have trains, they don't have those transportation vehicles, and so it takes them months to go somewhere. And so one day, this Sir Qian came to talk to Li DeSi. He said, "Oh, my brother Li, we're so close to each other. I really trust you. There's one thing I would like to ask you for a favor." And then Li DeSi said, "Oh, of course, no problem. You always look after me. Whatever thing you ask me to do, I'll try my best." And then this Sir Qian said, "I have a batch of really good wine kept in a big jar. I'm afraid that the guard in my house would secretly drink them. So could you help me to keep those?" And then Li DeSi said, "Oh, it's only this? Of course I can. You trust me? It's my honor. So just bring it, and I'll keep it for you." And so this Sir Qian hired someone to bring 30 jars of wine and put it in a room. It's an empty room in Li DeSi's house on the west side. And so, well, time passes swiftly. After 2 months, this Sir Qian didn't have any message to them and still hasn't come back. And then this Li DeSi thought about the wine. And he was curious, "Oh, what kind of wine is it? Some man likes wine," and Li DeSi was the same. And so he was thinking of take a look of the wine. And so he went there to look at the jar and shaked it. And even though the jar was very carefully sealed, in the past, when they seal the jar, usually they have a wooden cover, and then they have some red silk to cover it and then seal it. Usually the smell will still come out. And he shaked it. He couldn't hear any sound of wine or water, and he couldn't smell anything. And the jar was covered with the red silk or red cloth. And so he thought, "Oh, how come it doesn't have the sound of any liquid?" And and it doesn't smell anything, even though it's very well sealed. But Li DeSi was so curious. He still opened it, and then he was shocked. No wonder there was no smell, there was no sound of the liquid. There was only a complete jar of silver. And then he opened the second one and the third one. All 30 of them are all full of silver. In the past, silver, gold and silver, these are hard currency. And, sometimes the politics can change, and the officers, they make some currencies in the last dynasty, and then in the next dynasty, maybe they don't recognize it as currency anymore, and then they don't worth anything. But silver or gold, whatever dynasty it is, at whatever time, they are currency. And, jewelries are like gemstones are also like that. But on the market, usually, in addition to those bills, printed bills, silver and gold are like accepted by like worldwide. And so Li DeSi saw, wow, there are so many money there, so much money and so many silk there. And then he started to have the greed, and he wanted to have the money, and he thought about it for 3 nights. And then he had an idea, and he took all the silver and he buried and hid those silver, maybe under the ground of his relative or something. And then he washed all 30 jars and filled them with wines, and then sealed them again. After several months, this Sir Qian came back, and he said, "My younger brother, I need to get my wine back." And so Li DeSi said, "Oh, I'll ask somebody to send them to your home." And then this Sir Qian smelled some wine, and he was very surprised. And so when Li DeSi left, he opened them and saw, oh, they're all alcohol now. And so he was like, oh, he asked Li DeSi to come, but he couldn't say anything because he told Li DeSi that it was alcohol in the jars. But so Li DeSi said, "You said they're wine, they're alcohol, and look at it, they're all, alcohol now." And so this Sir Qian couldn't say anything. If he wants to sue this Li DeSi, but because you told him to, to keep the wine or the alcohol, and he returned the alcohol to you, so what's wrong there? And then this Sir Qian was so sad and depressed, and only after 6 months he died. The whole family was very, very actually depressed, because they all know that these were silver before. And this Li DeSi just got 3,000 liang of silver. If we convert it into today's measurement, in Beijing, the houses are very, very expensive, right? But with those 3,000 liang of silver, you could still buy a very big villa in Beijing. So it would be like maybe 100 million RMB. So, or 200 RMB. And so this leader was very, very happy. Oh, now he has money. And so first of all, he would get some concubines. And he would build a bigger, house and courtyard. And all of a sudden, he became rich. And one day, one of his concubines is going to deliver a baby. And, well, because he has concubines now, and one of the concubines is going to deliver a baby. He wants to have more concubines and he wants to have more children because he has a lot of money. But before that, one night he had a dream, and in the dream he was drinking tea, and then the door opened. Somebody came in. Ooh. And he saw that's like Sir Qian, and Sir Qian was smiling. He said, Lao Li and Mr. Li, I'm coming here to get my money back. And, in old China, they have a kind of handbag, and it's called da lian. What is da lian? It's like they can wear it on the shoulder, and they have a bag in the front and one at the back. But in Qinghai or Tibet, they usually don't do that. They just put the money or other treasures inside the cloth, and then they would twist them, and then tie them on the waist. So you cannot see the money inside. But in Hebei and Shanxi, north part of China, they're more advanced. So bags are just bags. And so this Sir Qian was carrying this what's so-called da lian, this kind of bag on his shoulder. And he saw that Sir Qian was smiling at him, because actually this Sir Qian died because of really sadness and anger and depression. And so he was really frightened to see him. And he was very frightened to hear that and saw him. And right after he woke up from the dream, his servant came in and said, "Oh, your concubine delivered a son for you." Well, usually having a son is a happy thing. But after he thought about the dream, he cannot feel happy at all. And then he became very careful about this little baby, because he was afraid that this little baby will take revenge on him. But the thing turned out that this boy is very, very filial, very respectful. Anything that Li DeSi would request then or instruct, then he would always listen and always do it. And also, he was very, very smart, this little boy. And so his teachers always praised him, and his neighbors also would praise him. And so when this boy turned 18, because he was very good at school, the teacher said, "You should go to the capital city." Do you know how close from his home to the capital city? It's only like several dozens of kilometers. And so he went to the capital city and passed the royal test. And I don't know what level he was. Maybe he would get like 秀才 or some kind of and so he would get, and eventually he got a position, like the 7th level position. But actually, it's not that low level. Usually, people would think the 7th level is pretty low, but still, he has a lot of power. A lot of people would have to go through him to do something. And so this Li DeSi was pretty happy. You see, the son was very good at school and passed the exam and got a position in the government. And so all the people came to congratulate him. And everybody said, see, you're so rich, even though they didn't know. How come he get rich all of a sudden? And then his son got very well in school and passed exam and got a position in the government. And so everybody came to congratulate him. And then after a period of time, you know, at that time, there's people who always they have a kind of thing that they are specifically very like an expertise in doing that. Everybody in the government, they want to be promoted. Right now, his son is on the 7th level, and then next level is the 6th level when he get promoted. And so somebody came to talk to Li DeSi. He said, see, your son has just started. It's still the 7th level, and he didn't have too much authority. But if I help you to, you know, work with the upper level officials, and then he can be promoted faster. And then, how nice would be that? And then this Li DeSi thought, well, that sounds good. And the person said, then you need to spend some money. But he said, well, if he get to a higher position, he would earn more money. And so this Li DeSi thought about it and took out some more money. Even though he had those 3,000 liang of silver, it was spent very quickly, because when they want to bribe those officials, they need to spend a lot. And so eventually he bribed an officer who's just under the emperor. And so his son was promoted to the 4th level. Wow. So almost like jump to the 4th level, to a higher level. That's a big celebration. And then, you know, the young man, this son, was only 19 years old, and he wasn't married yet. And even though he was already at such a high level of officer. And so, a lot of people tried to come here and suggest beautiful girls or very, you know, talented girls. And so every officer want to recommend their daughters to marry him. And so somebody suggested, you see, this son gets promotion so quickly, and in the future he might have, you know, brilliant future. You never know what kind of future he would be. You cannot marry someone who is from the lower class. You need to let him marry someone from a higher level official. And so this son went to an official's home and saw his daughter and really fall in love with the daughter, with that girl. And so this young man, you know, this young Mr. Li told his father, and he really loved that girl. And so his father spent a lot of money to talk to the girl's family. at that time they have those matchmakers, and so the matchmaker said, no, this is not enough, the money is not enough. But he already spent almost all the money that he got from the Sir Qian. But eventually, he spent a lot of money, and then finally the girl's family agreed. And the family, mostly because this young man is very, seems to have a very promising future, so they agreed to the marriage. And so next month they're going to get married. And so this Li DeSi got very happy, because this is it's all set. And then he drinks some alcohol, and then he fall asleep. And then he had another dream, and he dreamed the same dream that he had 18 years ago, that Sir Qian having that, the handbag on his shoulder, and came back again. So this Sir Qian said, "Oh, you owe me those money. I finally got all the money back, and plus some interest." And so look at this, and the bag is now full of silver and money inside. And then this Li DeSi suddenly woke up. And this Sir Qian left from the dream. And when Li DeSi woke up from the dream, he was sweating. And then a servant came in and rushed inside and said, "Oh no, your son suddenly got sick." So this young man who got the 4th level, officer in the government, Li DeSi's son, and he has just got a fiancée who is a girl in a very, high-level official's family. And this young man died without even saying anything. All of a sudden, he passed away. And then this Li DeSi suddenly collapsed. Such a young and prominent son. And even before they start to enjoy everything, they haven't even enjoyed the happy life. He died, and all the, so all their happy dreams broke. And ever since then, this Li DeSi lost everything. No more son, no more money. You see, he spent all the money to bring up the child, and then sent him to school, and then spent money for him to go to the exam, and then got the position in the government. And this son spent all the money that he got from that Sir Qian, and even the money that he later he earned. So he spent all of those money. Well, so that's the story. I'd like to remind you, if it doesn't belong to you, you shouldn't take it. If it belongs to your friend, you cannot take it from him. So you cannot just take away whatever asset or money from other people when it's not yours, if it doesn't belong to you. If you do so, I believe the result will be even worse. So I hope you learn something from the story. Do you have any questions? Oh, wow. Our online friends really liked the story, and they were sending comments all the time. And so they were guessing, oh, maybe the son is the one who came back and take the money back. And so now they're commenting that, oh, there's all cause and consequence, you see. So this cause has created this consequence. So it looks like everybody has already understood the story. I also realize, modern times it's always the law that is binding upon us, but in this story, Li DeSi is really lack of virtues and morals. And even the judges at that time, there's no legal way that they can punish this Li DeSi, but in the legal system, he was not punished. But still, there this judge, the divine judge, and so this called the law of cause and consequence still caught him, and eventually he lost his son and he lost all his money, and so he would be suffering so much mentally and spiritually, and also no one can help him. So it's so important to do good deeds. And after I hear the story, I also learned a lot. Yeah. Christine, after I hear this story from the ancient times, this reminds me of a story that Grandmaster, you mentioned before. There was a police officer who did something not very moral, and his wife passed away. I wonder, it's actually some bad things that this police officer did. How come his wife got the consequence, but this police officer didn't get any punishment for the bad things he did? So I would like to know whether this the director of the police bureau, this police officer, did he got some consequence? Well, the story about that police officer was just a part of the story, because you didn't ask me. Now that you ask me, I'll tell you more of the story. At that time, he actually has a daughter, a teenage daughter, and then got mentally disordered. And so she just went anywhere and crossed the street like crazy. And then eventually she had a car accident. And then the driver of the car accident, went away, and nobody can find the driver. So his daughter was killed in the car accident. And this director of the police bureau, after several years, he got some kidney disease, and his eyes were blind, and he also had his arm amputated, and he got uremia. And because of all the sad things happened to his house, he also got some mental problem and depressed, and also his skin got ulcerated. And then remember I mentioned that he had the second wife, and the second wife gave him a son. And his son, when he was 18 years old, he had a drug addiction. And so he spent just in a few years through taking drugs. He used all the money that this police officer has earned his whole life. So, why we don't, punish this police officer quickly and kill him? Well, usually sometimes death is not the harshest punishment. Well, if they're killed by a bullet or if they have a car accident, this pain from the death is not very long. And sometimes the pain from, your loved one's death, sometimes you couldn't do anything about their death or their sufferings. And then it's very painful. And eventually he also got sick and eventually died. And if they did something bad and they were killed right away, it's not as painful as this. For people who actually who did something wrong, if they are sentenced to death, maybe it's for another person, if they are sentenced to 50 years in prison, probably 50 years in prison is even worse than immediately killed. The sufferings could be even more. And so I know that sometimes they would sentence someone, they would be put into prison and they won't have any rights. They don't have the right to vote. They don't have the right to even get married. They don't have the right to work. And so it's almost like even worse than a slave. And so anyways, these bad consequence will eventually came back to himself. So this police officer, first he saw his second wife got the same illness as his ex-wife, and then he saw his daughter got crazy and mad and was killed in a car accident. And even though he had another son, but this son didn't do well and had the drug addiction and then used up all his money. So when we cultivate, Grandmaster, you told us that when you cultivate, your whole family will benefit. On the contrary, if one person do bad things, then the whole family actually suffer. And so cause and consequence, this law is always there. So the next story I'm going to tell you is about stealing some stone. It's a construction material. It's a building stones, the aggregated rock. So I found the story online. So this person's father is in the countryside. Cars are not very easy to use, but tractors are better because of the road is not very, easy to ride on. And so he ride on tractors. The young man who told us the story, he said, when he built his own house, it was his classmate's father, this father who used the tractor to transport these building stones to them. And so this girl has a brother, an elder brother. This elder brother will also go together with the father to ride on the tractor to transport building materials. And through transporting the building materials, they can make a living. I don't know about the countryside in China right now, but like 20, 30 years ago, if a family has a tractor that can help to do some transportation for others, their income should be fairly good. And so the young man who wrote the story, he said they have 3 temples in the village. Maybe in the history, this is a village where they have many Buddhists. And the emperor would come. Sometimes they would, even the royal family would give some money to the temples or to build some temples. And so these temples are very old temples, about 250 years old or 300 years old. But during the Cultural Revolution, they were damaged a lot. Some houses are still there, but some are already removed or damaged. And very rarely there are some monks here still practicing and cultivating. Usually those monks, when they're in a temple, they're just having some vegetarian food, and they would chant and practice. And after a few years, there's a very capable monk did some fundraising, because he said he wants to rebuild the temple, because a lot of the rooms in the temple has been damaged. The government said if they have a good record of the temple, and if they are damaged, then you can rebuild it. So this temple, only part of it has been damaged. They still have some other rooms remained. And so this temple is allowed to rebuild. And so this monk raised some funds to rebuild some Buddhist, some halls. And one of the persons who helped to transport the construction materials is that father and the elder brother, well, the father's son. And so some cement and other, sand and other construction materials. There are not many monks in that temple. They raised the fund. They already purchased the construction material, but there are very few people who are able to, manage the whole thing. This father, every day they transport some construction material, but they only give part of that to the temple, and they keep a part of it to themselves. At that time in the countryside, in the front there's a courtyard, and then there was a big gate outside, and so he used the construction material to renovate the gate. It's almost like a pagoda, kind of like the temple's gate. At that time, normal people, their houses, they have a kind of rules that they can build only in certain patterns. But this father didn't know. So he built it like a temple's gate. So after they built the gate, this girl, so the father's daughter, suddenly got sick, and she was so sick that she couldn't walk. This girl didn't do the transportation and didn't, took some of the construction material home. But she got sick. And then the girl's elder brother had another lover, and so was breaking up with his own wife. And so someone told them, they said, you see, you are just an ordinary person when you're just an ordinary person if you build a gate like a royal family. It probably won't fit you. You don't match that. You don't deserve that, or you shouldn't do that. But the father didn't believe in it, so he continued to steal the construction material during the transportation and use the stolen construction material to refurbish the whole house. And then what was the result? It's going to be the Chinese New Year. His relatives are going to the city, to the town, to buy something for the New Year. And so they asked him if they can have a ride on his tractor to the town to buy something for the Chinese New Year. So his relative plus himself, this father, and the elder son, so altogether 5 people. They drive to the town. But this elder son drove so quickly, so fast, that the tractor bumped into a truck. And the tractor completely smashed. All 5 of them died. And it was so terrible that, the police officer, when they went on site, when they see that, the police officer even vomited. It was just so terrible. Like their whole body was completely, smashed, and the legs were off, and just terrible. And the young man who told us this story, do you know why he knows the story so well? It's because this father went to ask this young man's mother about some legal issues. What kind of legal questions? This father asked, the truck says, tractors, you're not supposed to drive on the road. And I mean, you're only supposed to drive on the farm. And also, you're not allowed to have any passengers on the tractors. And therefore, the people on the trucks, they're not going to pay for that, because it's all the fault of the tractor driver. And because the relatives who already died in a car accident, they all asked for very high amount of compensation. And then this family of the tractor owner, of course, they didn't have that much money, and so they didn't know what to do. Well, this young man who wrote the story, his mother knows the law, and so she told them very clearly, according to the law. I believe even, the tractor owner, this father, even they sell the whole house, they couldn't compensate all the people who died in a car accident. And ever since then, they lost all of their money. And so that young man who told us this story, he said, well, we're in modern times. Before we heard about the teachings of, any properties of the temples. You cannot take it at all. We didn't know. Now we have seen it. Before, people say even a tiny bit of property in the temple, even just a piece of grass, you shouldn't take it. This story has shown the consequence of that. just a part of it. So usually, if you take even just a piece of grass from the temple or a Buddhist center, even if you became a cow or an animal for 10 lives, you couldn't pay off this debt, or you would have to be sent to the lowest hell. So we really need to be careful about cause and consequences. But the consequence is real. It's just like you cannot eat something that are toxic. Once you take some toxic food, when you take the food, it's easy. But when you know that it's toxic and you want to take it out, it won't be easy. So you really need to be careful and always be aware what is supposed to be done and what we can do and what we cannot. Sometimes some people, they're already doing it and doing more and more, even though they know the cause and consequence, but they still dare to do it. But eventually, they will be trapped in a net. What kind of net? It's the net of this cause and consequence. So when we have this greed, then if we put greed on our head, we will lose our head. So be careful. Oh, why are you so silent? Do you have any questions? Well, we just feel so heavy after hearing this story. Why do you feel so heavy? You didn't steal. Well, no matter who experienced that sad story, but still it's a sad story. And a lot of online friends, they were writing about it. And this Fan Ke is writing. So whether it's a temple or a meditation center or a company or any organization, we shouldn't take anything from it. We shouldn't steal anything from the organization. If we take something from a temple or a Buddhist center, then it's like you are taking Buddha's, what they call it, you're taking away Buddha's blood, as an analogy. Because the Buddhist center or the temple, usually because this is a place where it's supposed to help all sentient beings. If you steal something from these organizations, then the consequences will be even more than 10 times as much. Do you know? Well, when I'm saying that, I feel so much fear because there are so many Dharma protectors who are protecting them, the temples. And if you do that, how can you have a good result? Even if you sneeze, you might break your, bones or something. There are many terrible stories. We haven't chose a real terrible story to tell you. When I was young, there's a boy who was 2 years older than me and just lives very close to my house. And he went to a temple that I'm very familiar with, that temple. And at that time, it was at the later part of the Cultural Revolution. The old temples, because they have too many antiques, if they are protected by the government, then they can be open to the schools, so the teachers can lead some students go visit the temples. And there was a diamond protector statue from the Vajra school, and they have some decorations like in that Vaishnava school, they sometimes have some statues with quite terrible images, and so they have some skeleton kind of thing as decorations. And I even dare not touch the statue. And there's a student who took that skeleton, skeleton away, and it was made by some, I think, clays or something. So it was very soft, and so this student took it away. I was shocked, but I didn't know what to do. He took that skull away. And then in the evening, I told my master. And then my master said, "Oh no, this child will have some disaster." And then the master looked at him with his divine eyes and then used some Dharma power. And he said, "Oh, I helped him so that he won't die. I kept his life, but I couldn't help more because he has already done something really bad. He would definitely be punished." I asked my master, "What will happen?" Well, my master said he would not die. So after a week, I don't know why he climbed up to the roof, and then he suddenly fell from the ladder and broke his leg. And so for his whole life, he was always crippled. But he didn't die because my master used some Dharma power to help him. And the whole life he had to be crippled. And so this is a very small thing that happened right in front of my eyes. This is the lightest or the easiest, the smallest punishment that I've ever seen. And because he only took away a decoration from the statue. And so if we do something good in a Buddhist center, if we make offerings to Buddha, maybe $1 will turn into $10,000. And then your children will be good, and disaster will be eliminated. So these will all be magnified. If you make offerings, the good things will be magnified for 10,000 times. The punishment, even if it's not magnified for 10,000 times, if it's 1-to-1, you would feel very uncomfortable. And if it's 1-to-5, like 5 times more, and then you probably would find it hard to even keep alive. And if you have heard about the punishment in the hell, it's really terrible. I don't want to show you. It's too disgusting and too terrible. But you can search it online. And now our online friends all know that we need to respect this law of cause and consequence. So a friend asked, the question is, if we have had greed before, how can we repent? How can we make up? And there's another friend, online friend said, 22 years ago, he took something from the donation desk about worth 7 cents. What can I do now? So Grandmaster said, at least you need to pay back 1,000 times as much as you have taken. So first, repent sincerely. And if the temple is still there or the center is still there, you go back there and make 1,000 times or more offerings. And so if you owe the money, you should return the money. If you owe life, you need to give back the life. And so the money and any items of of any Buddhist centers, you can never take it. You can never steal. Any, good Buddhist centers, proper, Buddhist centers, there's always Dharma protectors. They are protecting them, even though there's no monitors taking videos of you. But the Dharma protectors are looking at you. So they will, if they want to punish you, they will torture you, and then there will be too much pain. And so if you took the money, you steal 7 cents, but that's still stealing. And you should give back the money. I would say you need to return 7,000. I recommend actually 10,000. And then in this way, if you can just be safe, it's already good enough. And sometimes when we pay back the debt, we pay by our life. Well, even our lives are taken. It doesn't worth that much. But if they don't let you die, it would be even more suffering. I have a story. If you hear this story, you would know that not dying sometimes is even more suffering. I have seen so many cases like this. I experienced a lot. I saw some, and my master told me, and my parents told me, there are too many cases. Well, when I was young, I didn't believe in it, and when other people told me, I said, "Oh, these are just superstitious." But if you get to my age, it's not that we believe in that. It's just that it's proved to be true. And your life are already destined. Have you ever experienced, say for example, before you are 12, 13 years ago, a fortune teller can tell you your spouse. They can even tell you the appearance of your spouse. Well, most people will not believe, but I encountered that's very, very true. You are just a little boy, and after maybe 10 years or a dozen years, and the spouse appearance, it's already destined in your life. They are very accurate sometimes, and 1,000% correct. And sometimes you prove it with your life. It's not only real, it's sometimes quite frightening or terrifying. At many years ago, when I started to deliver teachings in Guangzhou in China, I know a lady. She came from Shenzhen, who later became the most open city in China. He was a big landlord there, and his family was like high official in the government, and so they started to buy land before anybody else. And so when the city was developed and those the land was increasing every single day, and they still have 30 lands. They sell those lands and got so much money. They don't even need to walk. They don't even need to walk. They have just so much money that they could even hire people to carry them every single day. And when they want to find a girlfriend for their son, there are just so many matchmakers, go-betweeners to come and recommend girls. And everybody, they're just so beautiful. And so they choose one among them, and just in the honeymoon, the new wife went back home and was very frightened and got back home. And then the girl said, "Oh, I can't. I'm so frightened because when I'm taking showers, there's a furry hand helping me to scrub my back. It's so terrible." And well, I don't want to say more because otherwise you'll feel terrible. And this lady, very rich lady and her son, every year they would stay in Shenzhen for maybe 6 months, and then they need to go to a hospital or somewhere to rest because they have been tortured by those ghosts. Along the seashore of in Shenzhen, there are lots of people trying to migrate to Shenzhen, and so there were many people who were killed by the police. Their daughter-in-law was very frightened by some furry hands like rubbing their back when she was taking shower, and the mother said she's already got used to that. They never dared to even turn off the light, and when they were sitting there would be a face, like dark face, smiling at them. So they came to our center to give some blessing to them. And then they don't need to get away from Shenzhen, but she still dare not go back to Shenzhen. She has a lot of money. She'll just tour around the country. It's very terrible. You probably don't believe in it, but if you experience that, then you know how terrible it is. And that new, the beautiful daughter-in-law, after 2 years in their house, her mouth, her lips were like very dark. Her hair almost all fell off. She was a beautiful lady before, but if you compare her right now and compared to her previous picture, it's like two different persons. She was almost like a ghost because the money that they got was not supposed to get. And so you need to make a decision whether you want money or you want your life. But she's too greedy. Well, legally, the land belongs to her, but she's just having a terrifying life there. Well, it's your choice. All right, so we need to respect the law of cause and consequence and respect the divine and the universe. If you haven't seen the divine, it doesn't mean that they don't exist. You don't see with your eyes. You don't see the electricity, but the electricity, of course, it exists. And with electricity, with the power, then you can use your cell phone, you can see everything, you can get all the information. And so that proves what was taught by Buddha. It's a real emptiness, but it's also an existence. So sometimes you cannot see, but some animals, they can see. Human beings cannot see. And some ghosts, they can see. But once you can sense it, you will be frightened. All right. So in summary, we need to be a kind person. In order for us to become a kind person, kinder person, we need to cultivate more and allow kindness and compassion to be in one with our heart, with our mind. If we are a truly kind and compassionate person, then all the evil energy will be far away from us. But once you have some evil thoughts, especially excessive greed or jealousy, or if you slander people or cheat people, and then the evil spirit or energy will come to you. If you do not have enough right energy and the positive energy, then the evil energy will arrive. So that's why we need to have the right thought and compassionate thought. Once we have compassionate thought, the right thought, then our life will be smooth. Another purpose for our chanting is to pay off the debt. We need to repent the things that we did wrong, either to our parents, to our relatives, or to anyone in the society that we don't know. If we have hurt them before, we should repent, like to all of them. And generally, when we do need to do some good deeds and accumulate some merits to give us an opportunity to, make up. And so then our life can be with good fortune, and that will also bring good fortune to our offspring. So now let's chant to Guanxin Bodhisattva.
南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨。 南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨， 菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音 菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨。好，大家搓搓手，之后再搓脸。
Please rub your hands and then run your palms over your face.
轻轻拍拍头。
Now gently pat your head.
然后再拍拍身体。
And then pat your whole body.
观想自己的身体
Visualize
就是在阳光下
your
暴晒的
body
旧毛毯
is like an old blanket under the sun,
这样疾病和
the
烦恼
dust coming
就消
out,
失了。
and therefore the illnesses, the disease, and afflictions will disappear. All right.
我们刚才讲的内容呢，听起来挺严肃。
Well, the stories I just mentioned sounds a little serious, but actually
因果果报之中
in this law of cause and consequence, these are just, very normal. There are even more terrible stories.
在这个人的一生之中，
That's why in our life, it doesn't seem to be always very easy or smooth. just imagine how many harm we have done in our previous lives or in the first part of our lives. How much pain we have bring to others. And so we need to understand this. But before we know this law and know all of these, then we probably won't, we're always hurt others. Usually we hurt the people who are closest to us, starting from our parents and people who have any, interactions with us, have any relationship with us. Some people who work in a company, they would just, take something from their company and bring home. It almost becomes a habit. They don't think that this is stealing. They almost admire themselves for, being able to do that. Whatever organization you belong to, or if you're working in a religious organization, before you go, you're very afraid, and once you work there for a long time and you think that everything you get used to, and then you would take things that are not supposed to take, and then your heart is not right anymore. That's the fastest way to get into the trap. That trap of your greed and ignorance. And every day, you open your mouth, and then those burning, melting iron pouring into the mouth. And after that, then it keeps doing that, keeps pouring the melting iron into your mouth. In the hell, that's what happens in the hell. That's why they say it's like unlimited suffering, hell. That's why it is unlimited suffering. But when you hear this, especially youth, young people would say, no, this is nonsense. Well, when I was young, I was like that too. But you get older and older, the more and more experience you have, then you would understand this and you would know that it is true. I hope when your greed and lust coming up, I would like you to touch your chest and see if your heart is there, if your conscience is still there. When your greed arises, please control yourself. I'd like to give you a sentence from a meditation master. Our body is a Bodhi tree, and our heart is like the bright mirror. Every day and all the time we need to keep wiping it so that the mirror will not have any dust on it. Well, which means we always need to be very careful, and so we don't make any mistakes. And do you feel like even if you're very careful, you still make mistakes and still do wrong things? If you do not reflect on yourselves at least 3 times a day, of course you will get deviated. And sometimes they are already working in a meditation center, but a Buddhist center, they are probably even the director of the center, and then they lead the whole team to go off the path. And it's like when the general is off the path and then the whole army is going to the wrong direction. And so there will be consequences. If you get to the trap, would you have good consequences? Well, definitely there will be trouble. So we need to constantly remind ourselves and reflect on ourselves what kind of person we want to be. I would like to remind you to be a kind person, a compassionate person. So please read after me if you are willing to. I'm most compassionate. I will not harm others. I will not hurt. I will not be greedy. I will not be take derisive talks. I will not have lust. I want to be a pure person, purified person. I want to be a kind person. I want to be a good person. I want to be a diligent person. Every day I will get up early and practice diligently. I will not do wrong things. All right. So next, well, even if we have done something wrong before, I will, well, on behalf of my master and on behalf of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, I will give you energy healings and hope all of your diseases and afflictions will all be removed. Okay, now let's start. So it's for any kind of problem, health problem, illnesses or afflictions. I hope they will all be gone, be away from you. Every time when we are having online classes, our human eyes only see, people on site. But my divine eyes see infinite people. Countless people are here waiting for, help. They're all waiting to be saved. Well, one day someone said, "Oh, Master, I saw Sister Li's husband. He was kneeling down here in the Guanyin Hall and was, prostrating. I think he already passed away, but I saw him. I thought I took it wrong, but I greeted him. But Sister Li's husband already passed away like 6 months ago. And so those people came here hoping to be helped and have blessings. So those people who have form or do not have form anymore, they all come here waiting for the blessings. So we need to be respectful and merciful to all sentient beings. Today, I'd like to help with all health issues. After my healing, maybe there will be a result. Joy and Christine, don't close your eyes. Why do you sit on the ground? I want to ask you, is there any result from the energy healings? Well, the results are exceptionally well. You see, they're all here. It's a big stack of them. Well, why didn't you read those? Oh, okay. I know that the result is very good. Well, today, I'm sure our online friends will continue to leave us their results, their benefits. There are so many of them, and our online friends are so grateful for the energy healings, and especially crushing the walnuts that helps to remove those, excessive tumors or those kind of joints, and it's very, very effective, and they're so grateful. Okay, if that's effective, then that's great. And Joyce said, "Thank you so much, Master."
好，因为我们这个身体这个疾病多种多样啊，有这个肿瘤啊、
There are all
脓
kinds
肿
of
啊、
diseases. There's
什么脑血管问题、
tumors,
心脏
and
问题、
they
肾
have,
脏
you
问题，
know, heart
还有什么结
disease
石
and kidney
等等
problem
数不清的
and
这种疾病。
cardiovascular system,
那
all
因为
kinds of
种类的问
problems
题呢，
because
我有
of
杂核桃， 还会有杂豆，
the variety of
还会有
the
杂豆，
different problems. So I will crush the walnuts, and I will also crush the
健康
beans,
更有帮助。
the soybeans,
我知道
and or
这样
different
的
beans.
加持
I
效
hope
果
that it will
是非常
help
好。
you. I know
那么这两
it's
次
very
杂
effective.
核桃这个加持力是很大
Those
的，
2 times when I crushed the walnuts, it was
所以
very
今天会有多种类的一些
powerful.
东西啊。
And today we have more items. All right, I hope my blessings will help all our online friends, all our friends, and for all the health issues, this will be effective and help you to recover. I heard in Asia, it's their Dragon Boat Festival. I hope all our online friends, happy Dragon Boat Festival. Today is, what day is today? Wednesday. So on Saturday, in here, Saturday here in Vancouver. In Asia, it's Sunday. We will have live broadcast again, and we will again have the group practice. And but Saturday, we will have some prizes, some presents. We can show you some of them. So I wrote some cards, especially some young friends. I hope you will get my blessings, and I hope that all my good wishes will turn into truth. Just now, when I was blessing all of you, I was wishing that Buddha light will shine on all and will invite all Dharma protectors to protect all our online friends and all our fellow practitioners, so that you'll be healthy, happy, enjoy safe travel, your family and your career would be smooth and successful. I hope all the people who receive the healings and blessings, you have a whole happy, auspicious life and safe life. So, okay, I'll see you Saturday, and in Asia it would be Sunday. Thank you.
我与您相遇，小小的红点里，人生就此欢喜。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与你相遇，小小的红点里，人生变得神奇。我智慧了，